Hello and welcome. I have Linda Yao here. Linda is a CPA/CMA since 1993. She helps people save money or more, sorry. She helps people save more and pay fewer taxes. She has been successful in making money work for herself and others. She loves to share her simple and easy to follow concepts. She is in the financial services industry. Feel free to reach out to her at moneyladycanada@gmail.com, and I will put that available for people to see. So I thought it would be fantastic. I always speak on things related to resilience, and I know better than to speak outside of my lane. So in the face of dealing with COVID-19, I wanted to get a financial professional's opinion on just some of the stuff that's going on and how we can, even from a financial perspective, practice resilience. And I think who better than somebody who's been working in this industry for a while. So welcome, Linda. Thank you so much for being here. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Natasha, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be talking to you again. Um, thank you, and thank you.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. So the first question is, given how unexpected the pandemic was, what tips or advice do you have for those who are facing income reduction or loss because of COVID-19?
Well, that's a great question, Natasha. Well, COVID-19 is an unprecedented event. COVID-19 didn't impact as many people as Spanish flu back in 1918. However, COVID-19 affect the world economy and will have profound financial ripple effect. Already we see JCPenney, Neiman Marcus file for bankruptcy in the United States, Riemann in Canada in the past 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
We're slowly opening up. Canada will have its share of bankruptcies and hardships. It's like seeing a financial tsunami unfolding. Let's face it, we have lost over 3 million jobs in the past few months. Emergency funds from Canadian government have been slowly releasing, and you can apply for them. Depends on your situation. The subsidy most likely is not enough to cover all your expenses. As a result, you must make tough choices, and those choices will have impact on the economy. People are probably spending the subsidy on essential goods and services such as food, diapers, and medicine, and rightly so. And there are three things that I'm advising them to do in addition to buying their essential goods. One is do apply for government subsidy if you're impacted by COVID-19. At the same time, it's important to cut down as much as possible your expenses. And number two is look for opportunities where you can find jobs such as security guard, delivery agents, cleaners, and Amazon. Amazon created 150,000 jobs in the last little while. Seek them out. If it makes sense for you to do work in those areas, change careers, make more money instead of taking the subsidy, do so. And then lastly, find a reputable advisor to help save more and pay fewer taxes going forward. Saving 3 to 6 months of emergency funds for future disasters are necessary. We had tech boom back in the 2000s, SARS, in 2003, Natasha, housing crisis in 2008, and now, of course, COVID-19. Just to name a few bigger disasters, and there's a few little ones in between. COVID-19 is not the last, right, Natasha? And I'm laughing because I know there are more to come. We just don't know what it is.
I don't think we want to think about that.
No, but I think we had to prepare for it. So we, as an individual, as a business, as a government, even need to be preparing for that.
Okay. I think that's really valuable information and advice. And that's part of when I talk about resilience is looking at what do we learn from the current crisis that can prepare us, because life did not get a memo saying COVID-19 is the biggest deal that we've had to deal with. they get a free pass for the rest of their life. We know
Mm.
something else would come up, maybe not on the epic proportions of COVID-19, but you're right. Something else is going to that's going to come up, that's going to throw us off course. So there have
That's
been
right.
rates to rent and mortgage. And we're starting to see the economy slowly open back up. So how can people plan for the return to their regular expenses once we're at a point where the government is not encouraging freezing to rent and mortgages and things like that? How do we look at beginning the repayment in the face of still having your regular expenses?
Good question. I recommend that people continue to pay their debt, the rent, the mortgages as much as possible. I know there are times where you can't, and then if you cannot, then talk to the credit card company, talk to the landlords, talk to the mortgage companies to arrange for a deferral plan. Those payments are very necessary to keep your credit in good standing. And you don't want to be in bad standing, because then you have difficulty later on to borrow, or you end up in a higher interest bracket. So if you don't pay during lockdown period, the arrangement to pay for the debt back in the future means a higher debt, higher rent, higher mortgages. And so if you're already at the breaking point before COVID, this becomes a very hard thing to fulfill. So it's not an easy decision by any means, but work with them, work with the landlord, the credit card companies, and the bankers to come up with a feasible repayment. So after lockdown, you may need to find a part-time job as a solution to help temporarily increase your income to pay the debt. So don't discount that.
Okay, so something I recently discussed was gauging one's emotional temperature. So when I talk about gauging one's emotional temperature, it's being able to look at, where am I in my emotions? And being really quite aware of that, because sometimes part of what I gave in that example was, for weeks at the beginning, I kept saying, I'm fine, I'm great, I'm great. And then I just had this moment where it hit me and I'm like, I'm not awful, but I'm not doing great. And so sometimes we get so used to saying I'm fine, we're not actually paying close attention to where we're really at. And I know financially, if I'm not looking at my accounts enough, I could have a misperception of where I'm at. So, that's, I wanted to know, how does one gauge themselves financially, and what would that look like?
Okay, I know a lot of friends of mine stopped looking at their statements because of COVID-19. So I think they're very anxious because um, they see their life saving going down 20, 30, whatever percentage it is, even 10% sometimes it could cause anxiety. So that caused physical issue in the long run, because I'm not a doctor. And so I lived in an anxious period of my lifetime, in my 20s and 30s, and that caused a lot of problems, physical, psychological. So I recommend that you get some professional help, even though you think you're okay, but seek out someone who you can talk to. The point is to get help and help yourself as well to pull out of the state as quickly as possible. Yeah, don't look at your investment for a while, because it is kind of scary. That itself can induce the fear and anxiety, that's for sure. I've been through that, and I've been through 2001 tech bubble, 2008 housing crisis. Market fell, but not as sharply as COVID-19. So even then, it was scary. So my lesson learned from those crises is that I should save more and should not invest in risky investment that I can't handle. I mean, it's easy to say that now, but you learn in the future that maybe you should ease back a little bit on your aggression in investment. So we have 10 years of very good bull market, and everybody forgets the bad times, in the stock market. This is just another lesson for us to take in and study how we can ride through the downturn, reduce our future risk. We need to plan to save more and discipline manner to invest in areas that can tolerate risk. If I don't have the time, or I am a novice investor, professionally managed investment like mutual fund or segregated fund, or even GIC and bond would be an investment combination of choice that would take over a few stock individually. So I would not invest in individual stock if I don't have time.
This is actually really interesting because I never thought about it at the time as gauging my financial temperature, but I'm definitely wherever, whatever it would be called, I'm definitely a lower risk investor.
Yeah,
I
most
have
people
not
don't.
had the courage to watch that fluctuation and be calm about it. So I'm like, how about I just go with slow and steady wins the waste and
Exactly.
know that I'd rather have small increments, but knowing that in general it's climbing than seeing those fluctuations, because I think emotionally it would have to be up and down too. So
Right.
that is just definitely something I know I've learned about myself as an investor.
Yeah, because
So
most people are in that category,
yeah.
Natasha, and a lot of
Oh, good.
people
I'm
are
not alone.
in. No, no, you're not, because my husband is in the mutual fund industry for the last 30 years. In the end, he became GIC refugee, even though GIC didn't give him the the return that he was looking for, but it was
Right.
safer. He could sleep at night.
Okay, makes sense. So a part of being resilient is looking forward. What recommendations do you have about people regarding going forward with their finances? Because the thing is, COVID-19 is probably highlighting what we've done well and maybe some of what we haven't done well. And so when we learn both, we have to take that into consideration going forward. But I would love to hear from an expert. What are your recommendations about going forward with your finances?
Exactly, Natasha. We need to look forward by planning more and understand our own tolerance level. We should not put 100% of money in risky funds, because we could get good returns when the market is up, but those very good funds, I mean, those funds that do very good return will also drop significantly in a bad market. So I have a friend who always buy the best historical rate funds from last year. So if last year this fund returned 25%, he'll just dump his money in it. As a result, his portfolio always below average. Why is that? It's because when an industry of the mutual fund segment goes really high, which means it did really, really well one year, it will invariably take a backseat next year due to overbought the previous year. So he was buying the high, and then over the next 6 months, 12 months, the value dropped, and he's sitting below average. So my advice is, if you're going to pick your own investment options, I recommend you read up on how to pick those undervalued investments. Warren Buffett always says, don't invest in anything that you don't intrinsically know what it is. That means know what you're buying, and knowledge is power.
That's a really great thing to take into consideration. So one of the areas of expertise, or one of your areas of expertise, is retirement planning. And what can you tell people about how to properly plan for retirement?
Okay, for an average person, retirement planning is all about saving enough money for the lifestyle you want when you retire. It is ideal to have a business that pays residual income. Many people will rent out their basement when they retire. It's a good idea, but you have to get really good at pick quiet and paying tenants. I have that experience. So my first set of tenant was loud and didn't pay. So that was my first experience. It wasn't very good. So since then, I learned how to pick quiet people and paying people. So that's something that you have to learn, just that. And the fact that people say you don't need much money when you retire is not totally true. I found is I need initially more because I want to travel, I want to enjoy myself. I renovated my basement, my upstairs, so that it's more comfortable. So all that needs money. Plus, I want to make sure I don't have any kids, so I want to make sure my nephews are taken care of. So I want to give them some money, and then I want to pass on, legacy to my family members and some charities. All that takes money. I believe, though, money is not the root of all evil, which I think I was informed earlier in my life.
Yes, I think we all heard that in our growing years.
Yeah, money in a good person's hand will do better.
Right.
And so retirement plan should not be at age 82 or for men and 85 for women. You should plan for not for the average age, but for longer. There's a good chance that you and I will live beyond 82, 85. What happens if we run out of money? You have 500,000 K and you take out 25,000 per year. The money will only last you 20, 25 years. If you retire at age 65, running out of money at 90, 95 is not a thing that I want to face. Right now, I'm helping people to plan to age 100 with money left over to continue or pass on to the next generation. If you don't want to live 95 and find out you're penniless and have to live in a government-provided nursing home, well, nothing wrong with that. But if you're used to luxury, don't expect that you'll enjoy the rest of your life in the basic environment at age 95. Think about what you're doing and make sure you get a reputable person, an organization to manage your money. A friend of mine trusted her children, but that didn't work out as she expected. She was left with no money at age 91. It was a pretty sad story.
That is sad.
Yeah, if you have a financial plan already, I can certainly give you a second opinion if that makes sense.
Okay. And as we wrap up, we'll go over again how to reach you. So I just had one other question, but what I wanted to say just about what you said, what I liked about that, again, because I love to focus on resilience, and part of it is your perspective. And in perspective taking, we look at the big picture. And if we're thinking about retirement, but we live in the moment too much in our money and we don't plan according to the big picture, then we're more likely to face these situations where we could run out. So I think that's really fantastic information that you gave. So I read somewhere that budgeting will change your life for the better. What are your thoughts about this, and what tips can you offer if you agree for effective budgeting?
Yes, Natasha, that is very, very true. Better budgeting will help you with your finances. This means you live within your means and that you save 3 to 6 months of salary for your rainy day. I'd like to add that this is not only applies to individuals, but also to businesses and governments. In a crisis, cash is king. Those who can pay their bills in crisis will come out ahead. So a lot of people spend more than what they take in each month. With careful planning and budgeting, it may be possible to reduce expenditures. In some cases, it may be possible to get a part-time job to increase income for a short period of time. So this is always balance income with expenses. We have to remember, buy things we don't need with the money that we don't have to impress the people we don't like is not a good way to increase your wealth.
I love
Wealth
that.
is not about living in luxury homes and driving expensive cars. That's when I was growing up. That's what it sounded like. But to increase wealth is not to overextend your spending, but rather save money and allow money to work for you. Each year you can work less because your money is working more. The result is not to have to work at all. The money will be there working hard on your behalf. So smart budgeting is the only way for all of us to become financially independent. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Most of us average or below average income family.
Yeah.
We can get ahead by being good saver and savvy investor. It would be my pleasure to show you how that works.
Linda, that's fantastic. I just want to repeat what you said because I just love that statement. Each year you can work less because your money's working more for you. And I think with that frame of mind, that really puts us into a perspective of how we can use money to work for us, because instead, this trading time for money, we know is not a lifelong thing. It can take care of the immediate expenses, but we want to look outside of that to also be able to live and to have that time where we can, like you said, you want to travel, you want to do lots of things, and how do you make that part of your life? You have to financially plan for it. So I'm so grateful for this conversation. You've really given some great information. Can you just let everybody know how you can be reached if they want to talk to you about retirement planning or anything related to the financial stuff? Just what are the best ways to get in contact with you, Linda?
Just send me an email to moneyladycanada@gmail.com. I'll check that regularly.
Awesome. So, and I will put that with I'll put it in the description of the interview so that people have it there to access as well. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you spending the time with me and talking to me about this and helping me provide an aspect of resilience that like I said, I got to stay in my lane. I can talk lots of stuff, emotions and mental health, but I didn't have this financial expert, and that's why I reached out. And I'm so grateful that you could provide the insight that you did.
Thank you, Natasha. It's my pleasure. Anytime.